Centuries ago, whispers of restless souls spread through the Jewish world. Souls unable to find peace, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead. These spirits, neither fully alive nor truly gone, wandered the earth, clinging desperately to the living. Bound by unresolved sins and unfinished business, they were feared for the chaos they brought, but pitied for the torment they endured. Known for inhabiting the bodies of their victims, they were believed to be drawn by desperation, searching for closure they could not find in death. Born from the depths of Jewish mysticism, these spirits were not mere ghosts, but souls trapped by guilt, revenge, or refusal to let go of life, also known as demons. Ancient Kabbalistic rituals were crafted to confront these restless beings, invoking divine names and sacred inclinations to free both spirit and host from their torment. This is the Dybbuk, the haunting souls of Judaism. For generations, humans have been telling stories, tales, and legends about creatures found all around the world. From the griffin to the chupacabra and from the leviathan to the Chinese dragon. It's high time we set out an adventure to learn about them all. This is an expedition for the mythological. Welcome to Mytho Safari. Our story begins in the world of Jewish mysticism, particularly with the traditions of Kabbalah. The word Dybbuk derives from the Hebrew verb Dybbuk, meaning to cling or to adhere, maybe even to stick. In the modern Hebrew context, it's also known as glue, Dybbuk. In Jewish belief, a Dybbuk is the spirit of a dead person who has failed to ascend to the afterlife and instead latches onto the body of a living individual. This parasitic relationship between the soul and its host has terrified and intrigued Jewish communities and myself for centuries. Before we continue on to this scary, wacky Jewish demon, please subscribe and turn on those notifications. Consider becoming a member on our channel to financially support us. It is the only way we can continue making content just like this for you. Thank you so much. While the concept of a malevolent or lost spirit attaching itself to a living person can be found in other cultures, it was in the 16th century that the notion of the Dybbuk was formalized in Jewish thought. Isaac Luria, a prominent Kabbalist and founder of the Lurianic Kabbalah, laid much of the groundwork for how the soul and the afterlife are understood in Jewish mysticism. Luria's teachings introduced the idea of Gilgul, reincarnation, where souls are recycled through lifetimes, and Ibul, where a righteous soul temporarily inhabits a living person to offer guidance. However, the Dybbuk is the shadowy inversion of the Ibul, a troubled soul clinging to the living not out of benevolence but because of unfinished business, unresolved guilt, or malevolent intent. Though Jewish folklore is replete with the tales of wandering souls and spiritual possession, the Dybbuk's rise to prominence can be traced back to the 16th century, particularly in Eastern Europe. The first recorded mention of a Dybbuk comes from the writings of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who describes the phenomenon of disembodied souls seeking refuge in the living. But it was in the works of the Kabbalists such as Chaim Vital, who recorded the teachings of Isaac Luria, that the Dybbuk gained its infamous reputation. One of the most famous stories involving the Dybbuk is recounted in the book Sefer HaZohar, where a deceased soul is said to have possessed a young woman. The community, unable to help her, eventually called upon a skilled rabbi to exorcise the spirit. Through prayer, incantations, and the recitation of divine names, the rabbi was able to force the Dybbuk to leave her body. This tale set the tone for many future stories of Dybbuk possession, where only the most pious and learned individuals could rid a person of a Dybbuk. In Jewish thought, the Dybbuk represents more than just a malevolent spirit. It embodies the broader and theological question of the soul's journey after its death. The neshama, when the neshama ceases to connect to its body and eventually passes on. The question, why would a soul become trapped? According to Kabbalistic teachings, it is often due to sins committed in life, particularly those related to the mistreatment of others or violations of religious law. The Dybbuk is thus a cautionary tale, a reminder that one's actions in life have consequences in the afterlife. In many ways, the Dybbuk is a symbol of spiritual imbalance. The Kabbalists thought that the soul is comprised of multiple layers, and when one of these layers is corrupted or unfulfilled, and may become trapped between the worlds, living and the dead. The possession of a living person by a Dybbuk is thus a reflection of the cosmic disorder that occurs when a soul is not properly aligned. Furthermore, the Dybbuk also reflects a Jewish belief in all the interconnectedness of the souls. The soul of a sinner does not merely disappear after death, it has the responsibility to repair the damage it has caused. This concept ties into the Jewish idea of tikkun olam, or the healing and restoration of the world, which applies to both the physical and spiritual realms. Unlike the more familiar Christian practice of exorcism, Jewish exorcism is a deeply spiritual and private ritual. When someone is believed to be possessed by a Dybbuk, they are taken to a learned rabbi, usually one with the knowledge of Kabbalah, who can perform the ceremony to remove this spirit. The exorcism often involves intense prayers, fasting, and the recitation of specific psalms and divine names. One of the key texts used in Jewish exorcism rituals is the Shofet HaKabbalah, which includes instructions for dealing with malevolent spirits. The blowing of the shofar, a ram's horn used in Jewish religious ceremonies, is also a common element of these rituals, as its sound is believed to scare away evil spirits. It is important to note that in Jewish tradition, the goal of an exorcism is not to destroy the Dybbuk, but to help the spirit find peace and move on to its rightful place in the afterlife. This reflects a Jewish emphasis on tikkun, fixing, repairing what is broken, both in the material world and in the spiritual world. While the Dybbuk is a distinctly Jewish concept, the idea of demonic possession is prevalent in Christian theology, particularly in Catholicism. Christian texts often describe possession as the result of demonic forces, rather than the souls of deceased humans. However, there are striking similarities between the two traditions, especially when it comes to the rituals used to expel these spirits. In the New Testament, there are numerous accounts of Jesus performing exorcisms, casting out demons from those who were possessed. These exorcisms are often described in terms that parallel Jewish exorcism rituals, such as the use of prayer, divine authority, and fasting. For example, in the Gospel of Mark, Jesus encounters a man possessed by a legion of demons and drives him into a herd of swine, which then drowned in the sea. This dramatic story highlights the power of divine intervention in the overcoming spiritual forces. In early Christian theology, possession was seen as an evidence of an ongoing spiritual battle between good and evil, with the possessed person serving as a battleground for these forces. While the Christian concept of possession generally involves demons rather than human souls, both traditions share the belief that possession represents a disruption of the natural order and requires divine intervention to restore balance. Islam, like Judaism and Christianity, has its own rich tradition of belief in spirits and possession. In Islamic theology, the jinn are the supernatural beings created by God from smokeless fire. Jinn can be both good and evil, and they are believed to have an ability to possess human beings. We've got our own independent video about the jinn coming in a later video, so please look out for that video when it is uploaded. By the time you're watching this, it may already be on YouTube, so don't miss it. Islamic exorcism rituals, known as ruqayya, are designed to expel harmful jinn from the body. These rituals involve reciting verses from the Quran, offering prayers, and using certain substances like zamzam water or black seed oil, which are believed to have protective properties. As in Jewish tradition, the goal is not to destroy the spirit, but to restore balance by returning the jinn to its rightful place. Today, the Dybbuk has evolved into a multifaceted cultural symbol. It is often used to explore themes of guilt, unresolved emotional trauma, and the connection between the physical and spiritual worlds. Modern interpretations of the Dybbuk are less about ancient fears of possessions and more about the emotional and psychological weight of being possessed by the past, whether by personal regrets, familial expectations, or traumas passed down through generations. In some modern psychological interpretations, the Dybbuk serve as a metaphor for mental illness or inner turmoil. The idea of an external force possessing a person mirrors the internal struggles that people may experience when dealing with unresolved emotional or psychological issues. The Dybbuk continues to be a powerful figure in the modern day. Its story endures because it taps into universal human experiences, grief, loss, guilt, and the desire for redemption. Through the figure of the Dybbuk, we confront the idea that the past may never truly die, and that our unresolved spiritual or emotional wounds can continue to haunt us long after we think we've left them behind. A little personal anecdote from the host of this video. I actually currently live here in the Middle East in the land of Israel, and have had the opportunity to meet with quite a few Jewish Kabbalistic scholars. In my time with them, they have confirmed to me that the Dybbuk, or these demonic Jewish spirits, are very much a real thing. And even today, 2024 and beyond, people are still dealing with live exorcisms through Jewish Kabbalistic practices to rid themselves of these troubled spirits that may inhabit their bodies and souls. So while this may be a mythological creature to some, its legacy is carried very deeply on into the modern day, and Jewish people, Judaism, is still very much dealing with the Dybbuk on a day-to-day basis. It begs to ask the question, if the Dybbuk is real, what other mythological creatures may still have a foothold in today's modern world? The Dybbuk has a long and storied history in Jewish folklore and Kabbalistic mysticism, evolving from a spiritual phenomenon into a symbol of unresolved human emotions and traumas. While its origins are deeply embedded in Jewish religious thought, its themes resonate across Christian and Islamic traditions, highlighting the shared human fear of possession, imbalance, and spiritual disorder. Whether as a cautionary tale about the consequences of sin, a tragic figure searching for redemption, or a metaphor for the emotional struggles that can possess us, the Dybbuk remains a powerful symbol that bridges the gap between the spiritual and the material worlds. Its story is a reminder that in the end, all souls seek peace, that some may cling to the living until they find that peace. In both ancient and modern times, the Dybbuk continues to haunt our imaginations, inviting us to explore the boundaries between life, death, sin, and redemption, the physical and the spiritual. As long as these questions remain unanswered, the Dybbuk will continue to wander, searching for resolution. We sincerely hope you enjoyed this video on the demonic Dybbuk. Please join us again on the next safari, but before you leave, please make sure to become a member on our channel to financially support us so we can continue making more amazing mythological content just like this. We'll see you guys on the next safari. Goodbye. Before you go, make sure you check out our merch store, mythosafari.com, to buy t-shirts and other fun products that directly support the channel. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next safari.